So, everyone, MCU fans, geeks, nerds, all alike, we have some bad news. Disney Sony has ended their standoff in the contract negotiations for the future of the MCU version of Spider-Man, and according to Deadline, Kevin Feige is out of involvement of the next two Spider-Man films, and we'll get into what this article really says here. This is pretty sad for the most part, but it's also understandable. Let me try to break this down. In the most simplest of ways, it's about money. There's no going about it. So, let's break this down. The Spider-Man Far From Home right now is the highest grossing film at Sony Pictures at this point. It's nearing $1.12 billion. That's a lot of money. Considering also the fact that Venom also made almost $900 million off of its own involvement in, well, not really in the MCU, but on its own terms. You get what I mean. The Sony versions of Spider-Man and their properties have been making a lot of money. And it's not just what Sony has done with the properties, but it's also what the deal was supposed to be. According to this article here, and I'll link this article in the description down below, Disney wanted a 50-50 co-financing sort of thing. So, in this case, you know, in previous Spider-Man films, like Spider-Man Far From Home and Spider-Man Homecoming, Disney would only see 5% of the earnings back in terms of box office. Now, in this new deal that Disney wanted to forge with Sony, it was essentially going to be a 50-50 split. And Sony did not want that. Tom Rothman, who I think is pictured here, right? Or is this? It doesn't say who this is. Hold on. Let me find Tom Rothman here. Okay, yeah, I was right. So, this guy, Tom Rothman, he is notoriously known for being very fiscally conservative. He's also very known for not really liking superhero films. If you recall, the most famous incident, or the most infamous incident, involved X-Men Origins Wolverine, where he edited the film and pretty much did some terrible VFX work. He went into the editor's room and tried to edit the film. And he's notorious for not liking superhero movies, but now that he is now on top of the whole MCU Spider-Man situation, because, you know, Amy Pascal, who was the previous architect of that deal with Kevin Feige, is now going over to Universal. It's now fallen under Tom Rothman's hands. And so when it came to, you know, Disney's ultimatum, which was the 50-50 split, this guy just said, nah, thank you, but I think we'll win. There's even a really fun quote in here that actually says something of that effect. So it says here, essentially, Sony has made a decision that is similar to saying thank you, but we think we can win the championship without Michael Jordan. So yeah, that's essentially the new deal. Now, what is going to become of this? Well, Marvel Studios had already planned out that there would be another 2 films with the MCU version of Spider-Man. However, under what this has done, this guy, Tom Rothman, can essentially say, hey, you want a version of Spider-Man in a Venom movie? Let's make a new version, right? They can even essentially make Gwen Stacy their new Spider-Man, or Ghost Spider, or Spider-Woman. I keep forgetting what Gwen Stacy's version of Spider-Man is actually supposed to be called, but I always kept hearing like Ghost Spider for some reason. Heck, they could even still continue with Miles Morales in the Into the Spider-Verse universe. You know, they could still do those films. You know, because those aren't really done under Feige. But yeah, I mean, Kevin Feige has been on the front lines of producing Marvel films even from the 2000s. Like, he was behind the X-Men producers line. I think he was also on the producers line for the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans. But it has been told that Feige, his favorite superhero, has been Spider-Man. And for this deal to not go through is just sad, you know? and apparently, according to this article, he had, this guy had some things planned for Spider-Man, his version of Spider-Man anyway, if Disney and Sony could get to a deal. And they kind of axed him out of the whole negotiation process. So, yeah, pretty sad day for Spider-Man fans. Granted, we are still getting 2 more Spider-Man films, but Kevin Feige is not going to be on the producers team, which can lead some people to worry. And only time will tell of whether or not the next 2 Spider-Man films live up to whatever, Kevin Feige had been producing for a while. So, yeah, I have no clue. But at this point, Sony Pictures is still working on supposedly an Into the Spider-Verse sequel, as well as a Venom sequel with Andy Serkis directing it. And because of this new deal, it wouldn't really surprise me if they just said, you know what, let's create our own version of Spider-Man, make it different from the MCU version so that it doesn't get just so that it doesn't get indistinguishable between the 2 brands, and then have our version of Spider-Man, the Sony Spider-Man, going into Venom. It wouldn't really surprise me at all if they did that because of this lack of deal. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on this? That I don't really have much else to say. See you in the next video. Peace.